Hey gang, how's it going? Welcome back to my studio. This is Paint with Lovejoy. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thanks so much for joining me, and click the subscribe button so that way you can be updated on any of the new videos that I release. In today's painting, we are going to paint this really cool owl eye, and I do introduce an angled brush to this. If you don't have an angled brush, feel free, you can use your straight flat brush. But it's a way that we're going to kind of build our fluff and our feathers on this painting. And we're going to do a lot of overlapping and layers. So one of the things that you're going to see in this video, in the description box below, there is a link to a supply kit. And that supply kit is everything that you need to create this particular painting. And as I mentioned the angle brush earlier, there's going to be a link and a photo of what that looks like. So check that out and gather your supplies that you need for today. Another thing that you're going to see is in the description box is a link to a traceable. And your traceable is a way for you to get that initial image, that initial composition on your canvas before you even start painting. And for my first time beginner painters, this is an excellent tool to utilize because, like I said, it takes away some of the frustrating parts at the beginning before you even start painting. So take a look at the link below for where to acquire your traceable. Then there's also going to be a video on how to transfer your traceable, so check that out as well. And once you've got all your supplies and your traceable and your canvas prepped, then move on to the next part of the video. All right guys, so as you go through the painting process today, and especially if you're a first-time painter, I want you to relax. Don't take this too seriously. You have permission to paint a little sloppy, to paint outside the lines, to even deviate from the instructions that I give in this video. The only way that you can fail at painting is to not paint at all. So just the fact that you are watching the video and you are either thinking about painting or getting ready to start painting, I applaud you because it does take a lot of courage to paint at home. It's kind of intimidating as a first timer, but it's not going to be that way forever. So enough talking, let's go ahead and get started painting, and I hope you enjoy the process. Alright guys, I hope you're ready to paint. This owl is going to be fun today. And go ahead and head over to your spot where you have your setup and turn on your favorite music. As always, make sure you take your progress photos today. And once you've got your traceable transferred to your canvas or your panel, we're going to start with our small pointy brush and black paint. And just like the traceable, we're going to put some black paint in some of the areas, and then we're going to use a dark gray or a medium gray for a few other areas. And this is just going to help us know where we're going to be placing some of our colors as we go through the video. So again, small pointy brush, reference the traceable, and we're filling in all the black areas. Right now I'm filling in the pupil. I am leaving that space where the catchlight is. It's kind of a rounded rectangle shape, that catchlight, or a little jelly bean looking shape. If you happen to paint over that today, do not stress about it. We can reapply that white paint, that white catchlight at the end of the painting. And anything that you paint today, I don't want you to stress out about it. Acrylic paint is a really good medium. And anything that you paint today that you don't like, you just let it dry and you paint right on top of it again. In this video, we are going to be working with some of our layers. We're going to do kind of an underpainting, get our base colors, and then we're going to put all of our fluffy feathers and thinner lines on top of our underpainting. So it's a good intro to getting some brush control for you and getting comfortable with layering your paint. So here I actually moved up to the flat brush and just kind of followed that arcing line that we transferred, and just kind of making the brush strokes like dash marks, long dash marks. And now move back to the small pointy brush. Again, making either lines or longer dash marks. And as we go through the video today, there's going to be sections where you're going to pause the video. And this is where you get to utilize your power of observation. When you pause the video, I want you to kind of look at the places where I placed the color that we just used and the shapes that those
that I place those sections. And do your best just to mimic those shapes. All right, so now we've moved into our gray paint. So you took some white, added some black to it to get to our gray. And again, we're just mimicking the traceable, getting in the general area and direction where all these are. If you happen to place some of these lines in a different shape than I place it in, or maybe it's a little bit bigger shape than I do, completely okay. All right, so pause the video, take your progress photo, and we're still using black paint. We're moving up to that small flat brush, and we're going to be adding more areas. Basically, we're adding eyeliner around our owl eye and just thickening up the space. And here again, you can kind of play with that pressure as you use this brush. Maybe try pressing a little bit harder to make a wider line. And we're kind of filling in a little portion of the eyelid. And with any of my paintings, you are more than welcome. You have permission. If you want to switch out colors, if you want to do more of a white owl or a brown or even a psychedelic colored owl, please switch out colors. Just use this video and the places that I put these colors just as a reference. Switch them out to anything that you want. The crazier you can think about doing something, go ahead and do it in the painting realm. The worst you do is gesso over your canvas and paint something new on top of it. And I do have a video for how to reuse your canvas, so check that out. All right, so pause the video, take your progress photo. We're going to be moving into gray or light gray paint. So you can see I'm still on that small flat brush. Took some white aside and added a touch of black to make a medium to light gray. If your gray happens to be a little bit different shade than mine, don't stress about it. It's okay. And again, here we're making little dash marks, filling up the space, and kind of think about each dash mark as a feather on our owl. So we're moving the brush in the direction the feathers would be going. And it's kind of a nice thing to keep your brain busy while you're painting. If you've kind of gotten in the groove of painting but realize that you are holding your breath, please take a deep breath for me. You're doing a great job. You're off to a great start. All right, so now we're adding a little bit more white, so making a lighter gray than what we were just using. And again, your shade may be a little bit different than what I'm using, but you just want to go a little bit lighter than the last shade of gray that you were using. And as you can see on my plate, that's just kind of pulling more white into that area. And again, as we go through this, just notice the direction that I may be making some of these dash marks, because we do have kind of the forehead of the owl, the eye, and then kind of the span around the eye. So we're going to be making brush strokes in kind of various directions, and each of these brush strokes draws our eye towards the eye of the owl. So we're kind of subconsciously telling the viewer where we want them to look by using specific directions in our brush strokes. If you're a first-time painter and this is kind of a little overwhelming thinking about the brushstroke directions, don't even think about it. Just again, look at where I'm placing these colors and do your best to make that shape. So now we've got a darker gray and we're filling in the beak in the bottom left-hand corner. All right, so go ahead and pause the video, take your progress photo, clean your brush really good, and we're going to go to our burnt sienna. And again, we're kind of filling in the space around the eye and making these angled dash marks, long lines as we make our way around the eye. And we're going to be using a few different shades of our burnt sienna. All right, you're doing good. Keep painting until all your canvas space is filled in. And again, if you're using student grade paint like I am, your paint may be a little more transparent than some artist grade paint. If you happen to be using that, you have a couple of options. You can apply your paint a little bit thicker in this step, or you apply a layer, let it dry, and then apply a second layer for more opaque coverage. If you're using artist grade paint, hopefully you have a really nice brand that just has a nice buttery consistency and you only need one coat for it. All right, so pause the video, take your progress photo, and now we're going to add some white. We're going for a kind of medium burnt sienna. And we're going to be filling in the remaining space on our feathers here to the right of the eye. If you have to make your medium or your lighter burnt sienna color a second time, don't stress about getting the exact same shade. If you add a little too much white, that's okay. It's just that section's a little lighter. And you'll notice here that I am overlapping some of the original burnt sienna, and you'll even notice that I overlap some of the black as well. This is, again, you do want to cover up all that canvas space. If you happen to do what I just did there and get some black in your paint, don't stress. I'm going to leave it there and I'll go back over it with another color, or with more paint, really. Bob Ross completely had it right. Happy accidents. That's just a little bit of extra shading on our feathers there. All right, you're doing a good job. We haven't even done the eye yet. And when we get to some of these long feathers in our second layers, it's a lot of fun. You're doing a great job. Breathe, relax. Just the fact that you are painting and you're not sitting in traffic, you're not doing work, is a good thing. So here we're taking an even lighter version of that medium burnt sienna we were using and getting some of these kind of eyebrow feathers, kind of where the center of the owl forehead would be meeting and right above his beak. And again, notice the direction that those brush strokes are going on this painting. All right, oh, and I forgot that little corner down by his beak, so grab your brush and just fill that little kind of triangle shape in with black paint. And then back to that super light raw sienna to fill in the rest of the eyelid on our owl. And then we'll move into his eye color. And that was using the small pointy brush. Again, just using it in a small area. All right, pause the video, take your progress photo. You're going to clean your small pointy brush and we're going to go to yellow paint and fill in the entire eye. You will notice that I left that kind of rounded rectangle or that jelly bean shape, that catch light. I left that white, painted around it. If you happen to paint over it, we can reapply that section with white paint at the end of the painting. And I am applying that yellow on kind of thick because what we're going to do is we're going to wipe our brush off so that way we have what we call it kind of a drier brush. And we're going to make a darker shade and place it on top of the yellow, and with that dry brush just kind of blend the two together. Alright, so we're going to take some of that white paint, we're doing it backwards. You see how I just kind of slap that on there and then wipe my brush off. I don't have to get everything off, but just wipe off the excess paint. And using light pressure, I'm going around the perimeter of the white and the yellow and kind of blending the two together. And you will notice that the yellow gets eaten up very quickly in the white. So if you need to add more white, go right ahead and just keep a light pressure. If you happen to go over a little bit of that black pupil, that's okay. We are going to redefine our black at a later step. Alright, so now we're going to take that yellow with just a touch of gray, and make a bit of a shadow. And we don't need a super dark color. Like you noticed with the white, a little bit's going to go a long way in this yellow. So taking that yellow with that light gray, I'm going to go at the top right underneath that eyelid. And if you do need to adjust, it's better to start off too light than starting off too dark. So I started off a little too light and I just grabbed a little bit darker. Little bit goes a long way. If you happen to go too dark too quickly, just take a paper towel or use your fingers and wipe off that paint and then reapply the yellow paint and just kind of start over. It's never the end of the world. There we go, and I went back in with just a little bit darker. And the more that you do this, the more comfortable you will get. Nice. If you are one of my first-time painters, you can skip that step. It's okay. But I'm going to challenge you to just give it a try. It does get easier the more that you do it. So I'm just kind of smoothing out some of the areas between our kind of grayish yellow and our yellow. Nice. This will look good when you step away from your painting or take your progress photo. And you do want to do any of your blending while this paint is wet, because once it's dry, you won't really be able to do much more to it. All right, so pause the video, take your progress photo, and we're going to move into the angled brush. And if you don't have an angled brush, you can use your small flat brush. But we're making kind of these long dash marks, long lines. And going back to that burnt umber and orange, or the raw sienna. Sorry, cut that. So going back to the raw sienna with our angled brush, we're going to make these long lines and dash marks, and they're going to be overlapping a few colors around the burnt sienna, and also overlapping their own colors of the burnt sienna. So you do want to overlap a lot of your brush strokes. That's how we're kind of building that fluff. We're building that contrast between different lines and different feathers, really. So again, thinking about each of these lines as a long feather on our owl eye, on our owl face. If you need to add a touch of water to make your brush strokes a little bit more fluid, or make your acrylic paint a little more fluid, you can add a touch of water, but again, never have your brush dripping wet with water. And as I'm using the angled brush, I am keeping a rather light pressure and really just using the end of the brush. I'm not pushing really hard with this, because the harder you push, the wider your brush strokes are. And as you can see on the video, I'm reloading my brush about every 3 or 4 brush strokes. You'll notice that you get kind of into a groove and keep going and going, and it's great, but you're not actually applying more paint. So every 3 or 4 brush strokes, grab more paint and get back into that groove. And again, overlapping some of the colors around it and overlapping the same color is to your benefit. I don't want you thinking too much or overanalyzing. Just go with this. And we're going to be going through all the colors that we used in the underpainting. All right, so pause the video, take your progress photo. And we're going to be going into a medium, a lighter burnt sienna. So it's your white and burnt sienna. And again, these long these long brush strokes, these long feathers, overlapping the darker colors, overlapping the lighter colors. Again, we're just building this long fluff of feathers, and we're telling the viewer's eye where to look. The direction of these brush strokes are pulling the viewer's eye to look into the center of this painting to look into this owl's eye. All right, and as you're mixing your colors again, if you mix one shade too light, one shade too dark, just go with it. It's what makes each painting unique. And again, you can see where I'm overlapping some of the other colors. It'll be fun when you go back and look at your progress photos and see how much you transform a white canvas to your final painting, and kind of remembering some of the awkward stages that you might have gone through. Don't quit. Keep painting. Don't stop until this is done. You will be grateful that you did. Again, we're going over the top of kind of where those eyebrows would be for our owl. And the brush strokes are going in a few different directions here, so to kind of take note of where they are going on the painting. All right, so pause the video, take your progress photo. We're going back to our burnt sienna. You can go back and forth to all these colors as much as you want. It is to your benefit to kind of go back and forth quite a bit and build those layers and register how your eye is witnessing your painting. Where do you look first? Where does your eye kind of travel around there? And play with some of these dark and light shades next to each other. And again, take note of where your eye is looking. You are developing a communication for how you're looking at artwork. And in turn, you will end up looking at life differently. That is the beauty of art. So again, using that angled brush, making these long brush strokes, long feather marks, and again, overlapping some of our darker and lighter colors. Because it's kind of nice, I tell my students that you guys are magicians. You are creating the illusion of a 3D object on a flat 2D surface. And to create that illusion is what you're doing right now, is you're putting dark and light colors next to each other, because our eye interprets those as different depths, different volumes, different renderings. It's pretty amazing how our brain interprets a lot. So you're doing a great job. All right, pause the video, take your progress photo. And we're still going to be using that small flat, that angled brush, and adding more and more feathers and fluff. So you're going to clean your brush really good. We're going to make a medium gray. So you're going to pull some white aside, add some black, medium to light gray, kind of be at your discretion. I like it a little bit darker than what I have on the plate right now. And again, these are these long brush strokes, and these are the set of feathers that kind of go around the curve of the eye. So these will again be going in a slightly different direction than the feathers to the right of the eye on this video. So again, just overlap these brush strokes, do a little bit more than you may think is necessary, and just kind of take note of the direction of where I am making the direction of the brush strokes here. Right now, this is his little forehead. There's shorter feathers on his forehead, so these are shorter dash marks. All right, so pause the video, take your progress photo. You're going to clean your brush, the angled brush, and we're going to go to black paint. Again, you've had good practice with these long brush strokes, light pressure with your brush, and we're going to get rather excessive with these in around the eye and kind of the typical marking on this owl. So again, overlapping your other colors, overlapping the black brush strokes. You do want to add a nice thickness to this, and don't be afraid to overlap your colors. And as you go through this video, I'm going to go through this round, basically we had our underpainting and then these sets of layers. If you want to repeat this set of layers 2 or 3 times, go right ahead. It will be to your benefit, and it will add more fluff and volume and depth to your owl. So feel free to repeat these colors to your liking until you are kind of happy with where you've pushed your owl to be. All right, these little brush strokes around the eye are really short dash marks, so if it's too much with the angled brush, feel free to grab the small pointy brush to make these, and again, just keep a light pressure. Any of the brushes that I recommend using, that's all they are, is just recommendations. Feel free, if you're painting on a larger canvas, grab bigger brushes. If you're painting on even a smaller canvas, grab smaller brushes. Adjust to what you need. This is just a general guideline. All right, so I did move to that small flat brush again, and we're reapplying the black on the pupil and just kind of cleaning up the edge. Again, play with that pressure of that brush, using the edge of it to create kind of a smooth line. If you are having trouble making that smooth line, you've got two options. Use more paint, so that way it's a little bit thicker to kind of create the opacity of the line, or add a touch of water to your paint to create that fluidity. But again, you don't want too much water in there. All right, so pause the video, take your progress photo. We're going to be moving into white paint, so clean your angled brush really good. And I do apologize that the video is from this angle. I did lose some video from my other camera. So even from this angle, you can still see the direction that I'm making these brush strokes, but when I flip to the other angle at the end of this section, you'll see where they overlap the other colors. So again, utilize that pause section of the video. All right, and again, because this white paint is kind of the feathers in between the eyes and the beak of our owl, the feathers are going in quite a few directions. So I do want you to study the final image and really just kind of take note of those directions of the brush strokes. It does not have to be perfect, and it does not have to be a mirror copy of what I painted. I actually like to see the different variations and the way it's interpreted, and that's just your interpretation. So I say there's no right or wrong way to paint. This is just your way that you are seeing something, watching something, and then turning around and applying it to your project. All right, and again, you can see here I'm overlapping the beak and a few other areas. And I apologize that I didn't have the other angle to reference, but making some of these videos, you run into issues and you learn to just make the best of them. Same with painting. Happy accidents. Learn to make the best of mistakes, as you may call them. If you need to reapply the catch light, go ahead and do that. I like to put just even the paint on there anyway, just so that way there is something on all of the canvas. All right, so now we're actually going to take some light gray, possibly where you put your white, it may be a little washed out, so we need to create some depth, some illusion. So we have to create that illusion because, again, this is a flat surface. So taking a light gray, I'm going to be going over a lot of the area where the white is, and then I will do the white a second time. And again, all this is doing is increasing the volume, increasing the depth, of our feathers and our fluff here. And it's a very odd thing for a first-time painter to kind of put a darker color on the place where you know it's lighter. But by putting this darker color on there and then putting the lighter color again, it makes that lighter color even lighter. So by putting a darker shade on top of our lighter shades, it may feel counterproductive, but we have to have something next to that lighter color for reference to show that something moves back to where something else pulls forward in the way our eye interprets when we look at stuff. It is one of those things that the more that you paint, the more you kind of get it and understand. So again, keep painting. It is really cool to kind of keep witnessing the transition. All right, so thanks so much for painting with me. All right, so we're going back to the white paint. Now I have it at here. We're just gonna be adding more on top of the white and on top of the grays that we just added. And again, every 2 or 3 brush strokes, add more paint to your brush. And as we're doing these last couple highlights here, feel free to be very generous, very thick with the paint. If you are using the student grade paint, it will likely flatten a little bit as it dries. Some of the artist grade paint may keep some of that texture. All right, great job. It's a very serious owl. I like how he's turning out. I hope you like how yours is turning out. Please email me photos of your paintings. I really want to see what you're doing. Leave comments so that way I can adjust the way that I film the video or the way that I present the information. This channel has grown nicely. I'm very grateful. All right, so just going back, I want to increase some of those shadows. So I'm going back to the burnt sienna and just adding another layer. It again increases kind of the opacity because I am using student grade paint. If you're using artist grade paint, you possibly might not need to be doing this step. So again, take it at your call. Any of the colors that you need to go back to and kind of keep playing back and forth with these shades, go right ahead and do that. All right. Excellent job today, you guys. Thanks so much for painting with me. I'm honored you took time out of your day to paint, and I look forward to painting with you in the future. Have a great day. Cheers.
Hey gang, I hope your owl eyes turned out really cool and that you enjoyed the process and that maybe you're a little bit more relaxed now than you were when you started the painting. When you're uploading these to social media, please tag me, Paint with Lovejoy. I really want to see what you guys are doing. Please give me feedback, subscribe to the channel, leave comments, let me know what you want me to paint in the future. Your input and feedback is really important as I kind of groom and shape this channel into something appropriate for what you guys need at home. So like I said, don't be shy on your comments or feedback. Like I said, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do that. Check out my other videos. And thanks so much for painting with me and taking time out of your day to do this. It's awesome, and I look forward to painting with you in the future. Have a great day. Cheers. And like I said earlier, this is supposed to be fun. We're gonna wait for the plane. Hanging out in Liberty Station next to the airport. Waiting on a plane. Hey gang, I hope your owl eyes turned out really, really cool, and I hope you enjoyed the process. Oh, I need to do that.